Tea time, yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, welcome to Tea Time. You know what time that is. It's Miss Liz coming with a new story and some words. And today I have the incredible Katherine M.K. Mitchell in the house, and she's going to be spilling a different type of tea with us today. We're going to be talking about uneducated yet overcoming and hardship. So that's the tea that we'll be sharing today on Tea Time with Miss Liz. We are 9 shows left before we shut down Miss Liz's Tea Time. So be sure to get over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel, ring that little doorbell, and subscribe to Miss Liz's. And you can check out over 400 different interviews at any time in the morning, afternoon, evening, in your car, at home, at an event, but don't tell anybody I said that. All of that good stuff. So be sure to check out Miss Liz. I have some incredible guests from all walks of life, from all different countries around the globe. So today we got Katherine in the house, but before we get started, we're going to get the disclaimer going. We're going to get her bio out here, and then we're going to get Katherine in here, and we're going to spill some tea together and have some fun. We're going to do some twisted tea too. So we're going to add some little giggles in there. So get ready for that cup of tea coming. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, it may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussions, forums, only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. Again, all regular tea times are done on a Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you see a tea time on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, it is a rescheduled tea time, surprise tea time, or special tea time. So today is a regular tea time. So today we have Katherine M.K. Mitchell. She is a remarkable storyteller whose life emphasizes resilience and courage. Born in Nazi-occupied Hungary, she forced the harrowing challenges of war, the ill-fated SS Exodus, and the grip of communism, ultimately fleeing her homeland after the Russian invasion quelled the Hungarian Revolution. Her journey as a refugee led her to New York, where she transformed adversity into opportunity, carving out a successful career in Hollywood as an agent, writer, and story analyst, and earning her place in the Writers Guild of America's West. Katherine's creativity pursuits extended to her acclaimed novels, including Yours Forever, Maybe, Wasted Maybe, and Shelby's Way, Maybe, which captured the spirit of adventures and romance. A passionate speaker, she lectures on the nuance of screenwriting versus narrative writing, inspiring others to embrace authenticity and purpose in their lives. Now residing in Florida, Katherine continues to motivate audiences through her writing and public speaking. Her latest memoir, From Budapest to Hollywood, Searching for the Promised Land, chronicles her extraordinary life journey and her triumph against society's challenge. With recognition from esteemed platforms such as the Orlando Sentinel and Goodreads, Katherine M.K. Mitchell's story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the transformative nature of storytelling. Let me get Katherine in here and let me spill some tea with her. So welcome, Katherine.
Hello, here I am.
It's nice to have you here. So, Catherine, I'm going to take you back. Since you've checked out a couple of Miss Liz's tea times, I'm going to find out who Catherine was as a little girl and who's Catherine now.
I was thinking about that question because it's not a regular question about thinking of what you used to be way back when. And I didn't have, of course, any idea of who I was. Actually, I still don't. Uh, that's a little joke. Um, as a child, I was thrown about through by history. I was born during a world war. There was horrible things happening all around me. I was protected by my family, but then in being protected, we ended up on the Exodus, which was a ship that was almost sunk by the British at the time because it was a refugee ship. And then I was back in Hungary as a child. So after 2 years of going through war and a bad ship, a good ship, but a bad moment, um, I still didn't know who I was. And when I returned to Hungary, I was still only about 6, and I didn't speak Hungarian because I was surrounded by other orphan kids who from other countries. And so we all spoke various languages to get along. And then I had to relearn Hungarian, and I was about almost 9 when I found myself in elementary school and found my thinking and found my way of communicating with other children, and actually became class leader. So it went from one end of the pendulum to the other. Um, but I was always looking for a solution for when I was unhappy and when things were empty or sad. I didn't just sit down and said, "Oh, things are empty and sad." I was trying to make myself happy.
And that's what I got from your story when I did a little bit of homework on you, Catherine, is you reminded me a lot of my Oma. Because she always said, you got to find the positive, even in the hard stuff.
Well, I have another saying, not as good as hers, but a bad day can be a bad day and you get over it and you forget about it. But a bad life, you are responsible for that. You have to make sure that your life is not a bad life. It's more than one day, it is a life. And now, 80 some years later, I can say that with all the hardship that I had endured, I always came out going one step further. So I was always gaining something at the risk of losing a lot.
Well, that's how life is, right? We have to lose in order to gain.
That's what I found. But this is stuff that nobody teaches you. This is stuff that if somebody tries to teach you, you probably don't believe it until you are living
Absolutely.
it.
Well, and I think that's where we have to start sharing our stories, right? So we can show that we've lived through it, and this is where we are now. We had our bumps and we fell down, and we got back up, and
Yes.
and that's what we empower other people by sharing our stories.
And that it's okay to fail because if you don't fail, you don't learn.
Yeah. So, Catherine, I want to get into your tea because I think your tea is really incredible. Because you said uneducated yet, and I like the word yet. And then you have overcoming hardships. I love when people give me twisted teas because it goes down a different rabbit hole, right?
I think so, yes. But that's what creates it. It cannot be linear. That's too simple. And with the uneducated, I never went to college like normal kids do. It was there, but then when we arrived in the United States and we were refugees, and I learned English faster than my mother, so I became head of household, which meant I had to work. I was at the job because I could get a job. And little by little, time passed, and I never got to college. So, as I needed learning when I was involved with writing, I knew that I could do the writing, but I didn't know what it entailed until I went to school and learned it. So I took courses on everything I did. When I went to work in the law office, I knew I could handle a transcriber, but to transcribe from the ear to the fingers to the typewriter, that's very old. We don't do that anymore. Uh, but I didn't
We need
know
to
any.
bring those typewriters back. I love the sound of a typewriter.
Yeah, well, you are old fashioned. Let's admit
I'm
it.
an old soul.
But that too. So I went to law school, not law school, but I took paralegal courses at college. So I took a lot of courses until now. It turned out that I loved law, but it turned out that I loved writing more. And once I realized that I can invest as much time in writing as I would invest in going to law school part time or at night while I'm raising a child, which I also was doing. So I had all this to sort out. And but I always went to classes and I always studied something. And when I was writing, I learned about writing, what makes a good screenplay, and everything has rules. Everything has basis on which you can put your talent. So your talent of, oh, I can write a wonderful book. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. But if I know the form that is required into which my whole storytelling should fit, I'm way ahead of the game. So I never was fully educated, but I did take a lot of college courses.
You know,
Oh, and
and being uneducated and re-educating ourselves in our own
yeah,
different ways, right? I think
yes,
we don't talk about that in society. You know, how we educate ourselves through life lessons, life
yes.
experiences.
Well, one interesting thing was when I was pregnant with my daughter, I had realized that I don't know how to be a parent. How would I know how to be a parent? Like everybody is either dead or unfunctional. And I wanted to be a perfect parent. So I read every book I could find on the subject. And I realized that I cannot make her in my own image, as it used to be the style in those days. Parents would say, "Oh, my own image. If it's good enough for me, it's good enough for her." Um, I said to myself that this child has to learn to think. So because I learned, my brother taught me logic and thinking, and that's what got me through everything. And I said, that's all I can give my child, the form of think for yourself and move forward on your own thinking. And to this day, and now she's a grown woman, of course, I'm very proud of her that she didn't do anything I wanted her to do. But whatever she did do, she did well. So
Well,
that's where the thinking worked.
but Catherine, you know, we hear this, the perfect parent, right? What is a perfect parent?
I figured that out too. It takes two people to be a perfect parent. I grew up without a father who didn't come back from the war, and that left its sign forever on me. I don't have. I didn't actualize, which is a hard word. I didn't reach my absolute ability pinnacle. I never pinnacled. um, what happens when both parents are there, you have a balance of learning and losing and winning, and the two of them together make you a whole person with many points of views. I never had that, so I had to work it myself. And so it takes two to be a good parent, although I know a lot of us were one and tried to be both, and you're not both. And my own daughter, who grew up after a divorce, grew up with just me, took a lot of learning from others, and I wouldn't have approved that. Now, had it been a learning inside the household between husband and wife and child, that was approvable. But for my child to go and take information from people that I didn't trust and didn't believe in, that would be wrong information. but I couldn't fight it because I couldn't lock her in a cage. So she was exposed to a great many things that I would have not allowed it to happen. So does that answer the question? I'm
It
not
does.
sure.
It does. You know, it's okay. You're doing good. You're doing amazing. You know, there's no perfect, right? On tea time, we just
No.
spill it and we have fun. I, I want to talk about the word overcoming for you, Catherine. When you hear that word overcoming, what have you overcome?
Uh, okay, if I go back to what kind of little girl I was, I had to overcome the language issue. So by the age of 6, I would know who I was as far as the language was concerned. I went out for the Hungarian opera children's corps ballet, where I was probably the best candidate to join the children's corps when they found out that I had heart condition that wouldn't allow me to live to be older than 30, but I could have been the greatest ballerina ever. Well, I had to overcome the pain of that, and my first step was always I went silent. I stopped talking to anybody for months before I got my footing. So that was an overcome. And the next overcome was also in the physical, where I walked into the potential of being a gymnast. And it really appealed to me, and it wouldn't have been so hard on my heart. But being an athlete, you overcome every day. You're always, always bettering yourself. And bettering would mean overcoming, not being as bad as you were yesterday. And to be top of the country at the time for a while. I was nationally ranked. It was an achievement unto itself, and that was overcoming everything that had hurt me for the previous 14 years. And I was a hero for that time of my life. And after that, the rest was coming to this country that was overcoming something every day, because not only the language, the lifestyle, the attitudes, the abuse, people, it's human nature to abuse somebody who is weaker than you are. And I was, and my mother was, and we had a lot of problems that we had to live with and make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's this form of overcoming. And to this day, now that I'm an old lady, I am overcoming the fear of being an old lady and handling it as if I were not an old lady, and wearing red to make myself feel like not an old lady. And a little bit this, a little bit of that is showing that I am not giving up. I'm not just going to lay down and die.
Well, I think Catherine, like the overcoming goes into the hardship, right? And we're gonna spill into the hardship now because you gave me the word hardship for your A, and the A is the future, right? So the hardship in the future, what hardships do you see in the future for yourself, Catherine?
The big hardship is trying to make your way as a writer. And I don't mean hardship, financial hardship, because I've retired now and I am okay. I don't have to worry about my bread and butter tomorrow. But the way the industry has changed during the many decades, as far as writers and merit and connections are concerned, are very ugly. And there's a lot of 25-year-old or 22-year-old out of school people who have just passed their English test, and they are sitting in judgment of my work. And I had written one screenplay that was actually optioned by a film company who was going to do it. And the first thing the woman who optioned it, who loved it, right? First thing she did, she called UCLA and got herself a a student, fresh out of cinema school, to redo the dialogue. Well, hello, those characters are my characters. There is no 20-year-old person that can fix the dialogue of a 40-year-old person, because that's two different lives and worlds, and we don't speak the same language. So once they started to do that, I knew that picture is never going to be, because they ruined the whole basics, because language is a tool, and language does represent each person, and the way each person uses the language and the words and the enunciations represents that person clearly, and makes that person identifiable. That's better than represent. So that's where I say that it is a very negative world out there. You can't just send a book to somebody and will she or read it or not. And 10 of them have to read before they decide who is going to represent it, if they're going to represent it, during which time you get terribly old. So that's upsetting to me, and I cannot change it. I think I'm a very good writer. I think I am a knower of persons, so I can create characters actually based on persons I am meeting every day, because that gives me the texture, and I can make that person work inside my storyline. So I don't like it when people mess around with my storyline without cause. I like opinions and comments very much. I like this book, my book, the From Budapest to Hollywood, that's gotten very good comments about the language, the writing itself. And it makes me proud to know that people who are educated and who did finish college and who passed all the English courses in their lives consider it good writing and congratulate me on the ease of reading it. So yes, that's an achievement, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm not letting go. Nobody can take that away from me.
I like the fight in you, girl, because you're fighting for the flavor in your story. And when people come in and say, "Oh, well, this can be changed and that can be changed," well, you never lived it. So how dare you come in and say, "Let's change this flavor"? It's like somebody coming in and taking your tea and saying, "No, you can't put milk and sugar in your tea because that's not the way tea is made." You come in and you just say, "You know what? No, I'll add the spice if I want to add the spice." And I think it's deeply important that we stop editing and stop fixing the storyline. This is what happened and this is the truth. It's hard and it's rough sometimes, and it needs to be there. And you're showing in your writing that you're writing from a different language as well, because you had the Hungarian language and you're writing in English. So that's an overcoming, right?
That was a big overcoming to determine that, and that was exactly my thinking. Again, think. I like thinking. You like thinking. I remember
I do
you
too.
saying thinking feels good. Yeah, but I know that when I was in New York a couple of 3 years already, I still spoke very poor English and probably pronounced it terribly as well. But I told myself that I was a good writer in Hungarian, because I wrote papers for school and I was celebrated for the fine writing. And I said, if I could do it in Hungarian, why can't I do it in English? And that's what started me on paying attention. It also caused me to lose my other languages, because I was concentrating so hard on becoming good at English that I couldn't practice the other languages, and that was a mistake, but it's done, so forget about it.
So, Katherine, how old were you when you wrote your first book?
Oh, well, the book, Yours Forever Maybe, I wrote that when I was already 50, because I had to switch. When I lived in Hollywood and in the film industry, and I worked in the film industry as an agent and a writer, contributing writer is somebody that's called in to make changes because some producer wants changes. That's the different. thing than original changes. But at that time, I was in my 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, when I was studying at UCLA, raising my daughter. And at night, at 9 o'clock, after she went to bed, I was writing and I was creating screenplays. And I liked writing script because it was the camera telling the story, and that suited my thinking and my visualization. And then when I left Hollywood in after a major earthquake in '94, suddenly I found myself out of the film industry, and everything I looked and found in Florida, South Florida, I couldn't get involved with because they were too distant, and I just couldn't find my voice in the South Florida world of film, as little as it was at the time. So that's when I said, why don't I just take the same story and do a narrative? But how do you do that? And there too, the trick is that in a real writing world, for a script, a motion picture screenplay, it's a minute a page. Well, it was at the time because there was no hardware and no wild animals running through the script. It was storytelling. So if that would make it 120 pages for a 2-hour movie. And so first time I took a script that I wrote in Boca Raton, it was called Wintering in Boca Raton, of course. And I wrote it and I transferred it to narrative, and it was 120 pages, as was my script. I said, just a minute, there is more to writing than that. Because I just took the dialogue and put it into paragraphs. So that wasn't right. And that's when I studied the new form. And when you asked me the first book was my first romantic adventure novel that I wrote in Florida, probably in 98, 99. Yeah, I was an old lady almost. No, I was a young old lady, but I had to write. See, I couldn't not write.
So, Katherine, when you wrote your book from Budapest to Hollywood, was it the journey that you expected to have?
What is the journey? Was it my life journey? No.
Yeah, like when you came to Hollywood, was it everything you expected it to be?
No. It's I call it, Hollywood is a mirage.
Oh.
That's, to me, it's nothing but you see the glossy parts and you see how the fancy people show up on camera, but the pain and the suffering and the using of each other and the disrespect, it's always the big guys or big women, not big, but important, will take advantage of the new ones, new people. Somebody is going to hurt somebody, and you never know the damage that happens. In fact, I still, to this day, I say that the 1994 earthquake was God's sign for me to get out of Hollywood. And I left. 6 weeks later, I was out of there. And I think that in my book, I say that if you want to go and try your wings in Hollywood, have an exit plan. Give yourself a structure that you will do certain things, you will not do certain things, and make sure that you protect yourself and don't believe everything you hear, like I did.
Yeah. Well, and that's the story, right? Everybody sees Hollywood as this big fame, light, and glamour, glitz and glamour, right? But they don't see the hidden stuff that happens behind.
And people don't help each other. That's the first thing. You go to a woman producer and you figure that you are an agent and she's going to at least meet your clients, not necessarily hire them, but she'll at least meet. No, most of them would see me because of curiosity, because I was a curiosity item, this foreigner who is dressed like an actor. I was not dressed like a businesswoman because I didn't know better, but I was a laughing stock in many ways. And luckily, ignorance can be bliss, and I was so focused on my job of selling my actors that I didn't realize that I was being laughed at by the women, by the secretaries. I'd go into offices in my little mini dress, like they were wearing, I was wearing. I didn't know that I'm supposed to wear a suit or something. It was, they were not nice. And there are a lot of,
And I'm glad that you're sharing that story, because a lot of people they want that fame, the light, the glamour, right? But they don't want to see the challenges that are behind getting those parts and the
yeah.
sacrifices that are being made and the deals that are being made. Um, I seen that you were a part of the Me Too. You had the Me Too syndrome. So do you want to share a little bit about that if you're okay with it, Catherine?
Well, I'm okay with saying it now that I'm out of there, but, and also now, this may be, maybe I should or shouldn't feel this way, but I definitely believe that all high gloss industries, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's publishing, whether it's magazines, whether it's photographers, the big ones, the famous ones, if there is big money, there is using of one another, because there is always somebody who needs something and somebody who will promise something, and the outcome nobody knows, because it's not the big thing of tit for tat. That would be fine if you know that, oh, you do one thing and you will get what you want. That may be possible at certain time in your life, but you don't know, so you do the one thing and now you have to do it again and again and again, and nobody's coming to you with the answer. So I think, and the younger the people, oh, and with the drugs, of course, um, it's there. It will not go away, Liz. I tell you, it will not go away. You have to have self respect, because if you go to Hollywood without self respect, you will never find it.
And I think that's an important message for all the listeners out there, because I get a lot of listeners that say, Miss Liz, oh well, you're on a magazine cover, you're on this, you're on that. But those are sacrifices that we have to make, right? Those are things we have to give up in order to be on those things. A lot of people just look at it, oh well, you're so famous, you're so this. It's not about the fame, it's about getting the message out there and having the story heard and getting people to see that there are hidden stuff behind those opportunities, right?
Yes, I believe so. Now, it goes on everywhere. I mean, people of power will fire people who don't please them, or do things if they please them. And you see, the young and poor will kowtow to the powerful. And I would say most of the times they get used. I was used, and I am very excited about having survived and found my center, which I did not have for the longest time.
So, Catherine, I want to take you on another little rabbit hole. How'd you meet your husband?
Okay, now that was actually also the thing of falling in love, that first love of your life. That never changes to this day. Many years later, and long ago, divorce later, he is still my first love, and that will never change. But I took a playwright course in New York City from a playwright whose husband was a director. So I was accepted as a student. And what happened was, the class was, final paper had to be a one act play. And there were 30, 40 or so many students in that group, and the best three were going to be produced in a summer, off Broadway in New York, because in those days New York was closed, and the big theaters were closed over the summer. So all the best actors were available to do little theater and to do off Broadway stuff anywhere. In a matchbox, they will call it off Broadway. So mine was picked. Mine was one of three that were picked, and it had to do with a very sad day in my life, um, of meeting a man that I loved instantly, because I was a dumb girl. And But what I did with the story, I turned it around. And in my story, the leading woman wins and gets the guy. And the bad girl goes away. In real life, it didn't happen. He went with her. And
The bad girl always wins in real life, right?
yes. And and I was and one day I had a call. I had a regular job, the day job that you have, and I had a call from Sylvia, the teacher, to come on because she found two guys who will be good for the leading man, and I would have to pick the one I want. And I was coming across to her house, to her apartment after work, and I was crossing something like 57th Avenue, 57th Street, and I saw this guy coming, like with the jacket on his shoulder, just strutting his stuff like John Wayne, with this "I am the king" kind of a look. And we were coming across, and we actually locked eyes for that split second. So I got into Sylvia's house, and I said, "I saw him." And she said, "Well, I saw him." And so I told her. And sure enough, the two came back, and one of them was very fine and looked like a clean-cut model type. And this guy was the hunk that could break the heart of a girl, since mine was broken that previous summer. So and that's when we met. And then the next 6 months to a year, we were back and forth fighting and not fighting. And my mother was very upset about having an actor, not a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. Mothers always want their kids to have a husband with a check, a paycheck. So, and that's when we went to Hollywood because he said, "Well, the action is in Hollywood. Let's go." So we got in the car and went. Everything he said was fine with me. And that's when I became an agent because he and his friends were sitting in our apartment, not working and complaining about the other actors on the screen. "Oh, I can do that part better." So I said, "Well, why aren't you?" I didn't know.
I
Why
love your
they,
attitude, Catherine. Like feisty, right? You're talking
and
about it,
so
do it.
they said that, yeah, I mean, and they said, "Well, they need an agent." So I said, "What's an agent?" Right? I don't know what an agent is. I'm a Hungarian refugee. And so I was told what an agent is. And during my pregnancy, I went through all the steps that were needed and got approved by all the signatory guilds because nobody had any dirt on me. So they had to approve me. I had no past.
She hadn't
So
had her tequila yet.
that's not, definitely not, definitely not. So I became the agent. And then the whole thing was that I didn't know that they were laughing at me because I just absolutely did not belong in that role. But I was so enthusiastic about my clients. I had 14 actors whose work I have seen on stage before, and I knew they could deliver. But I had to get them a reading. That was all I had to do. Once they got the reading, they pretty much got the part because they were good. So all 14 of them got their Screen Actors Guild card after my first year as their agent. So I stumbled upon to the right steps to take, which was my logic and my thinking, not the knowledge. I had absolutely no knowledge, but then I developed it. So yeah, it was a good ride, but I didn't make enough money. But luckily, my husband had a lot of good parts, and in fact, his two sons are still getting his residuals because all those old channels are playing all those westerns and everything. I'm not getting any residuals.
I just got a broken heart.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, what actor have you met or worked with that has inspired you to stay strong?
No, I have not met an actor who inspired me anything. I'm not fond of actors. Um, my inspirations have been writers and directors because that's where the work begins on the empty page. And that's when the interpretation begins on the empty screen. So, no, actors in my learning experience are the tools that interpret writing. So
But
all my friends and all my running around and all my fun as well as bad times came from writers and directors. I was very close to Sidney Sheldon at one time, and some of my books are compared to his. And he taught me a lot. He also taught me a lot of bad stuff. And there was couple of television writers who became very famous, who were very famous, and they were talking with me because they saw my curiosity about their work. So they and everybody wants to talk about himself or herself and what they enjoy the most. So they weren't as crazy about actors because actors are just bodies, who can memorize many lines, and we like that. But I can't say that any actors inspired me, but writing has inspired me and taught me uh, great many things. So much so that up until just quite recently, I've been lecturing at libraries to people who want to find out about writing, how to go about it, and what to expect, pretty much.
yeah, because a lot of writers and directors don't get enough credit, right? The credit goes
Right.
to a lot of the actors in the
Yeah.
films and in the movies, but they
Yes.
don't talk about the back end, right? They don't talk about the directors, the producers, the writers, the sound plays, the people that write the scripts and that.
and and basically, everybody laughs. There used to be, oh, I can't tell you that joke because we're on the air, but
You can tell me after.
but writers usually have the least amount of respect, yet they are the ones who created the project. They are the ones who get it on paper, and now somebody can read it and visualize it and put it on the screen. So, and it's a teamwork, but any one of those elements can ruin it. A bad actor can ruin a good script. A bad director can ruin a good script. So they are interdependent, and they have to like and respect one another.
Yeah. So I want to take you down the tequila road because we talked about this before we went live, right? A good tequila, we need some of those sometimes. So when you were doing your screenwriting and that, did you ever just have a good shot at tequila and you said, "Oop, let's go"?
Oh, I have had some drunken stories, and I always wonder why God saved me, because I figure He has a plan for me, because I have done some, don't tell anybody, some drunken driving, and that was um, when you are so drunk that you think you can see, and you really can't.
Yeah.
And Hollywood has a lot of hilly areas, and going through those canyons is not a smart thing to do. Um, yes, I drank, and I still drink, but not like I used to drink. Um, I was my husband, the actor, taught me how to drink. He was a serious drinker, way more than me, and I think I was very lucky that I could hold my liquor and did not become a damaged alcoholic, which was right there in my face, you know. So I got lucky. There are some things that happen out of luck, not out of knowledge, because I would do anything he wanted me to do. I mean, he was the man. I was raised to do what the man wants. So the drinking was part of what he wanted. And it's interesting that life is not so bad without the drinking, or with just normal drinking. Yeah. But did that answer the question?
It did. It did.
Because I can't tell you the episodes because they were, too crazy, and I don't want any nice young person to hear them.
Yeah. Well, and the reason that we talked about the tequila was because sometimes in life gets hard, right? And we got to take that twisted tea, and we talked about this before we went live. Stop putting the flavors in, stop putting the sweetness into it, right? We just want a good shot, like, we need that stern push in life.
Yes, yes, and that's another thing that I believe and I don't know which portion of our conversation it belongs, but in the overcoming section, we talked about the sports.
Yep.
The discipline that comes with sports is also an essential part of life, because people who grow up without sports don't have the same discipline that athletes do, because athletes have, in order to succeed and be famous and be big time, you have to always better yourself. So you need to have that discipline that will keep you going. And I feel badly for everybody who doesn't have or didn't have an opportunity to learn about discipline and how it can really improve your life.
Well, you were in gymnastics and a dancer and that as a young lady, right?
Yes. Somebody just asked me this morning, when am I going to do a back band? Huh. I'll show you a picture when I could do it.
I can give you a picture.
Yes.
But there is a lot of discipline in sports and activities, and even in dance, right? Because
Oh, yes.
the structure and competition
and it's not only the mental thing of holding it together, because you have to remember all the steps and all the music and everything, but the body, every part of your body has to do the right thing. So it's a complete. Now, so according to the health information, the best sport for everybody is swimming, because there is no weight. You are weightless, but your body is aligned, and nothing is under pressure. So your body can be healthy and get toned, and your cardio is going. So swimming is the absolute daily sport for everybody until the day you die. But everything else is harder on your body for that reason, that the weight, the gravity is what you're always fighting. And you see those in the circus or Cirque du Soleil, those contortionists. What's the word? I can't pronounce it.
contortionists.
There you go. Thank you. My T and the S get screwed up. They have they by the time they're 30, all their discs and joints will be damaged, and for the rest of their lives they will be having problems. So yeah, sports can be bad for you.
Well, sports is like writing, right? You got to be determined and disciplined to do your writing as well.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, I'll write 500 words today," and then the next day it'll be like, "Oh, I'm writing 10 words." You got to be really disciplined when you want to write, especially a screenplay or a book. You got to put that focus into it. So
Yes,
you also wrote the Maybe series, Catherine's.
that's my 3 novels that I wrote. And to me, the word maybe is a dynamite word, because so many things go on until you wonder, maybe, and the promises that people make. And the word wasted is a rich word that also has many, many meanings, some good, some not so good. Um, and so some of these words come to me, and the maybe adds to it. And then Shelby's Way, which is considered a good work, good writing too. And it's romantic adventure. It's not woman's romance. It's not one of those bosom hugging Enzio, Fabio, whatever.
Fabio. I haven't heard Fabio since the 80s, I think it was.
And he's probably an old man now, not much hair.
Yeah, he's probably lost that glam hair, right?
Yeah. but yeah, no, I call it romantic adventure, like Sidney Sheldon and Jackie Collins, that have a storyline where the romance is the underlying story and not the leading story. The leading story, as they say, is character driven. So each character has a goal inside the story. And Shelby's Way is of my first one, where she, a girl, a gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful girl, discovers herself through a couple of mistakes, and then she can forgive herself and take the right road. And that's life.
I never looked at the word maybe as wondering, but then as a thinker, when you said it wondering, I was like, "Ooh, that's intriguing. That has me enticed. Like I want to dig deeper, right? I want to
Yes,
understand."
it's a fine word, because you always believe something until somebody says maybe. Oops, maybe not. What can be? You know.
Well, it's like when I was a little girl, I always said, "I'll never do this," and my father used to tell me, "Don't say the word never, because when you say the word never, you're gonna do it."
That's true too.
So, Catherine, I asked you your favorite color, and you gave me the color red, and we're both wearing red today. Tell me why you like red.
I don't know. I think I did one of those tests where it came out. You know, when you do those silly little things. I don't know where it came from, but I liked it. And my daughter did that to me. She was about 11 or 12, and I was getting ready to go to a PTA meeting. And I came home from work, and I was wearing a very nice looking brown outfit, and I remember it well. And she asked me, "Is that what you're going to wear?" Now, right away, I said, "Yes. What would you like me to wear?" Okay. And so she goes to the closet and pulls out my red skirt and top. That's what she wants me to wear. So I put it on. It was days later when I found out that she was wanting to introduce me to her PE teacher, who was recently divorced. So she and her friends decided that I should meet him. So she got me dressed up pretty in red. And it it just stayed with me. And when in doubt, put on something that picks you up.
And you find red picks you up.
Yes, because just before I got online with you, I had on a white sweater, and I looked and I said, "Ugh, it's so you're white. Can't have that, you know. I want you
Nobody's
to
picking me up in white.
I want you to see me. See me." So
But
I went,
it's a color, right, that grabs the attention. And it's the lady in red, right? And you're getting
yes.
getting that eye on you.
I also think it's a power color, representing that you are not afraid of being seen.
I like that. And we're two ladies that are not afraid to be seen today because we're both wearing red. So
And another thing that might interest you, when I am most afraid of what I'm going to do next, and at a loss of some kind, I will dress up and I will put on full makeup, and I'm going to make myself look my best so that I have the shield of confidence. Then I
I
can
like that.
speak the confidence. And that's something I learned actually many, many years later, as I noticed myself that when I'm the most casual, that's when I'm the most confident. So when I'm the most scared, that's when I'm the most dressed.
So, Catherine, when you hear the word promised land, what do you think of?
Say that again.
When you hear the word promised land, what do you think of?
Promised land, my first thought would be the biblical promised land. But we added, the publisher added that we did that with the Hollywood thing, because that is also a promised land of a different kind. But people go there with enormous amounts of hope, as same as you go to the promised land. But I think that the natural response would be the biblical.
So, did you find your promised land?
No, I never did. And I'm very sad about. That's why I say that I picked a lot of wrong situations. I picked a lot of wrong men. I made a lot of bad decisions for myself. I can't say that I did that for my daughter. I was better for her than for myself. But no, I'm not where I should be. at this stage of my life. But it is what it is. And so it goes.
So, Catherine, your book from Budapest to Hollywood, what message would you like the readers to get?
Um, I wrote in it, I wrote, it was hard to live, harder to write, but easy to read. And the message is, bottom line, that don't feel sorry for yourself. It is really boring. Do something.
And what message would you like to give to the women that are coming into the promised land of Hollywood?
Have an exit plan. Have a list of rules, of your own rules. It's like I used to have rules about certain parties I would go to and not have more than one drink, because I know after 2 drinks, I don't exactly follow the rules. So have your own rules, what you will or will not do, and stick with it. The minute you don't stick with it, you'll make a mistake. And, stick to your goal and don't worry about what anybody says, because nobody is smarter than you are.
So, do you have any plans to write any new books, Catherine?
I will see what happens with this. I think I'm probably going to do short stories or articles and try to get it into magazines. I have a long list of magazines I like to discover, because I don't want to deal with an agent. I do not like agents. I don't trust them, because they don't know what they're doing, and they're like sheep and shepherd. So,
But
that's
Catherine, weren't you an agent?
I what?
Weren't you an agent at one time?
Yes, but I was a caring agent. I would read everything somebody gave me, and if I couldn't figure out what to do with it, I would tell them what to do with it. I was very caring. Same with the actors. I always knew that everything depends on what I say. And to me, yeah, I was a very kind agent. And I remember somebody gave me a science fiction storyline, pretty serious, like 40 pages, a whole concept. And I really loved it. And of course, I went to Gene Roddenberry, because I knew that's his specialty. But Gene said to me that, I'm writing something. I cannot read anybody else right now. There is that legal thing. So I took it away, and I took it to one of the MGM executives, whom I never forget. He was a wonderful man. And he loved it, and he wanted to work with it. And I had the writer was in Florida. And at that time, they didn't have entertainment lawyers in Florida. It's many years ago. So when I asked for a contract, they didn't sign it, because they didn't think I was worth half his money. Well, I was worth half his money, because he wrote a bad book, and I reduced it to the good. Anyway, sometimes people don't think that you know what you're talking about, and then they left. And that could have been a good movie, and I had the MGM studio ready to read it,
But you never know, right? Don't give up. Your age is just a number, and you never know. Maybe it might happen, right?
I have a lot of short stories I would like to tell. And the only thing is, in order to do that right, you have to read all those magazines a couple of times to get the sense of their audience, their readership, and their requirements, other than what they state in their submission list. So doing one good article per year would keep me going.
So, Catherine, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, how could they find you?
Actually, my website is katherinemitchellauthor.com, as easy as that. And that has contact access. And katherinemitchellauthor@gmail.com is my email address. So I'm an open book. I answer everything.
There you go. Well, Catherine, thank you so much for sitting and spilling tea with me. We went down a lot of little rabbit holes and we had some fun. We had some giggles and good memories. And you brought a lot of good content to the table. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing your story with me. It was an honor to have you here. Uh, Thank you to all the listeners and supporters out there who are tuning in to Miss Liz's Tea Time. If you're watching a replay, please push hashtag replay and let me know where you're tuning in from because I always like to know where you're coming in from. We have 9 shows left before we wrap up the season of Miss Liz. But Miss Liz is not going anywhere. You guys can still check out Miss Liz's website at www.misslizsteatime.com and check out the other branches that will be taking place in 2025, 2026, and 2027. There are 3 years of work that is coming that Miss Liz will share at the reunion show on December 19th. If you want to join that, it's a free event, but donations are always welcome to help Miss Liz with her mission of serving tea. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. I will be back tonight at 7 p.m. with Dr. David Steins, and he'll be talking about his book and his work and all of that good stuff. So we'll be talking about all of that tonight. And then we have coming up, we have tea times on the 9th, 10th, 12th, and 13th. The last tea time is December 13th on my daughter's birthday, Ashley, in memory of my daughter. So we're going to wrap it up that way. And until then, I want everyone to keep serving your tea, keep being true to yourself, and we all can make a difference when we serve our real life teas to the world.